All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. We are going to be working on toe mobility today. Not just toe mobility, but that will be sprinkled in throughout the practice, and you'll see it in several different manifestations. And I'll talk a little bit about why that's important in rowing, and really, honestly, in life, and be able to walk and go up and down stairs and step up and down and over things. You need decent toe mobility. But I will warn you that if you are very stiff, especially in the big toe joint, where the foot meets the toe, that the mobility exercises we're going to do might be challenging to you. And I encourage you not to push to the point of pain or discomfort. We'll be doing some things to try to create a little bit more movement and space in the joint, but not causing pain. So listen for signals of pain, and don't feel like you need to push. You're not going to be able to push past your limits of range of motion today. This is sort of an ongoing practice that will be helpful. As far as props go, we need a blanket or a towel, and you might want the strap for the quad stretch, and you might enjoy using the blocks here. We're in some lunge positions, and we will be doing a supported bridge as well, which I also use the blocks for, but you could use a foam roller or folded blanket for that. So we're going to start on our backs. Whatever position is comfortable to you, knees bent or straight, arms where it feels comfortable. Perhaps it feels good to have the hands on the torso, making connection with the movements of the breath, or so you feel kind of grounded and connected to your body. Or maybe it feels good to open up your arms out to the sides, the palms up. We'll be in some stillness for the first few minutes, so if it's comfortable to you, you can close your eyes. You don't need to see me for this part, just be able to hear me. And as always, we begin with the breath. Without the breath, nothing is possible. Without the breath in yoga, you start to lose this connection. You start to lose the focus or the intention or the mindfulness aspect of the practice. So starting with the breath here, begin breathing through the nose. Inhale and exhale. Following the breath here. And so that we are intentional with the breathing, start to lengthen your breath. So it's not big, deep breaths. We're slowly each inhale and exhale down, lengthening it out. If you can stay connected to the breath throughout the practice, it will keep you anchored in this present moment. So if you lose the breath, if you lose your intention in the practice, I encourage you to stop and rest, reset, reconnect to the breath. And for setting an intention today for this practice, bring to mind the reason you've shown up. Why did you set aside this time for the practice? Is it that reconnection with the body? Is it about slowing down? Is it about releasing tension? Is it about being a better rower? Or perhaps you're dedicating your practice to someone else, someone who might need your positive or healing thoughts. So bring this thought or person to the front of your mind and breathe with intention. So we'll begin to move from here. Open your eyes if you want, but I'll try to be good with my cues so you don't have to open quite as much. If you'd rather, I'm going to reach both the feet and the hands up towards the ceiling. So I'm keeping a little bend in the knees so it's not a big hamstring stretch. And I'm going to circle the wrist and the ankles. And you might feel or hear a few pop, pop, clicks, especially if you have something going on in the ankles here, or maybe a little crunchy through the wrist, and circle in the other direction. If you've got some tightness, tension in your feet, in those first few steps of walking after you've been sitting or in the morning, are painful or stiff or tight, doing these kind of ankle circles can be helpful. And then pausing here and just shake out your feet, shake out your hands, your legs, your forearms. And then when you're ready, pull both knees in, hugging the knees in towards you gently, maybe holding shins, or if the knees are an issue, maybe you're holding back some thighs so you don't compress those joints. Gently rock a little left and right. So depending on what's going on with your back or your hips, this might feel like a nice gentle place to stay at for the next few breaths. If you'd like more stretch, more twist with this, you'll bring your arms out to the sides. As you drop the legs to the right, you could stretch the left leg out towards the right wall. So you get a little outer hip stretch, bend the knee, roll onto your back. And then as the knees go to the left, you could stretch that right leg out to that left wall. Exhale onto the back, inhale into the twist. And as you may have noticed, I had to shift a little bit to make room to go to stretch the leg out to the side. So you may have to shift off your mat a little bit if you've got a wall nearby or furniture that's in the way. Trying to stretch here through that outer hip, one of the muscles that leads into the IT band. And we'll come back onto the back here. Bring the feet down to start, and find your blanket for the next one. We're going to work a little bit here on the core. We're going to use the blanket or that. This could be a pillow from the couch too, as a prop. We're going to lift the legs, and I'm going to place that blanket on my shins. So I'm starting here with the hips and knees bent at about 90 degrees-ish, shins roughly parallel to the floor. And we're trying to keep that blanket balanced on the shins. And we want to engage our innermost, this deep layer of abdominal muscles. Press the back ribs into the floor, press the back of the hips, the pelvis into the floor, and you'll feel these muscles here around your waist engage. Keep that the whole time. And on your inhale, move your thighs away from you. Your shins stay parallel to the floor, maybe just a few inches. Exhale, pull the knees back in so they're over the hips again. That's it. We're inhaling to move the thighs away. Shins stay roughly parallel to the floor. Exhale, pull it in, knees over hips. We're going to do a few more here. So sometimes when I'm doing core muscles, core strengthening exercises, my neck muscles start to overactivate. And one way to get them to kind of relax, calm down, is this arm position, hands behind the head, or even hands over the head. So if you're noticing your neck muscles are kind of like busybodies and jumping in, trying to stabilize your lower spine when really your abdominal muscles should be doing that, try to get them to turn off. You can always stretch this out a little further to do more challenging core activation. But if you're losing that connection of the back of the hips, the back ribs on the floor, you've stretched it out too far. I'm going to do one more. And then we'll pull the legs in. You can put that blanket down, feet down here, and just gently rock your legs side to side. Easy, Easy windshield wiper. Could be small movements if that stretch feels good. Make it bigger. Making your way to your side and coming up to hands and knees. I'm going to use my blanket to pad my knees this time. We're starting in this tabletop position where you have the knees under the hips, wrist under shoulders, or changing the hand position could be loose fist or down on your forearms. Sometimes that 90-degree angle, palm flat, doesn't feel so great. We're doing cat-cow, but I'm going to offer doing cat-cow from toes tucked under. So you could lift the feet, tuck the toes under, and we're not going to be shifting back and forth. So this is about the amount of stretch you'll feel here, but we're rounding the back into cat, tuck the tailbone, tuck the chin under. Inhale, tip the tailbone up, belly towards floor, chest forward, cow. And go back and forth with those spinal movements. Exhale, rounding the back, pushing the floor away. Inhale, arching the back towards the floor, chest forward. Moving in whatever range of motion you have in your spine that doesn't feel forced or painful. Toe position here, just getting the toes used to being in that flexed, well, it's an extended position at the toe joint. We'll bring this back into neutral spine. You could untuck your toes here, or if you feel more stable, you could keep your toes tucked for this. But we're going to walk the knees out more almost to the edge of the mat, so they're wider than a hip distance apart. Thread the needle here just to warm up the spine and shoulders a little bit more. So we'll leave that right hand down, or right arm down. Inhale, sweep the left arm up, looking towards it. Exhale, thread the left arm under the right. You could peek underneath there. We inhale, unwind, and sweep the arm up. Exhale, thread it through. I'm going to do a couple more here on this side before we switch. We'll come back up. This time the left arm stays down, and it's the right arm moving. Inhale, sweeping it up. Exhale, threading it under. 3 more. We'll come back up here to hands and knees. Now, I'm going to offer another version of thread the needle. This one is going to be more about the core than it is about the mobility of the spine. So, as sort of a variation of bird dog, we're going to bring this left foot back. So you could start either with toes down, the knee up, or you could bring that left foot so it's floating up off the floor. So I'm going to thread the needle with my right arm, but you got to keep the hips level and you got to keep yourself from falling on your face. So your movement might be a little smaller. So I'm going to inhale, sweep the right arm up, look towards the right. Exhale, thread the right arm underneath. Now here's where it could get tricky. You may not go as far. Inhale, unwind. Exhale, thread it through. Whoop, yeah, so I had to catch myself with that right arm so I didn't fall on my face. And then maybe one more. All right, lower the knee, lower the hand down. And maybe you sit back on your heels or stand up on your knees. You kind of shake those wrists or roll the shoulders here. And of course, we'll do the other side. So finding your tabletop, firm the belly. We're going to bring that right leg back this time. So it could be toes down or toes up. Toes up is a little more challenging. We'll keep the right arm down. Inhale, sweep the left arm up. Look towards the left. Exhale, thread the left arm under. Be careful and go slow. Inhale, unwind. Exhale, thread it through. Last one. All right. Knee, hand down. Let's take a moment in child's or puppy pose. Just a little break here on the wrist. Hips over heels, forehead down. Child's or hips over knees, forehead down. Arms could be enclosed if that feels better, or even hands under the forehead here. Puppy pose is an alternative to child's, especially if you're working with osteoporosis or herniated disc, maybe hip or knee issues. It could even be your toes tend to cramp in that child's pose position. So puppy could be useful for lots of different reasons. And remember, this could be a resting position for you. You could rest here at any time. Could stay longer, in fact, if you wanted. Or if you're ready, coming up here to hands and knees. You're going to stretch one foot back. The toes are tucked under. So here's our toe rocking movement that we often do in this practice. But you'll see this a few different ways today. So toes are tucked under. I'm going to shift forward and bend through the toes. So instead of going like rolling over my toes here, I'm going to keep the pads of my toes down and get bend in that big toe especially, and then press the heel back. So you're shifting forward, bending through the toes, pressing the heel back. Breath could be inhale, shift forward, exhale, push back. The big toe joint, that joint where the foot meets the toe, is a very common site of arthritis, similar to the base of the thumb. It's one of the first places people who tend to get arthritis will get them. We'll get it. We're going to bring that knee down, switching sides, same thing. So you might have some stiffness in the joint due to some degeneration of the cartilage there. And this movement can help get the lubricating fluid moving around, which can compensate partially for loss of cartilage here. But also doing this in whatever pain-free range of motion you have can help prevent loss of more range of motion if you're stiff. We're lowering that knee back down. We're going to make our way into a down dog. Down dog could be challenging for different reasons. You might stay in hands and knees and keep working on the toe rocking movement. Or for down dog, hands a little forward to shoulders. Lift your hips up and back. Now, if you're tight through the hamstrings, the calves, you might need to bend the knees to extend the spine more, like lengthen it out, hips up and back. So that's what I'm doing here. And then if you'd like a little bit more movement, you could pedal the feet. So this is similar toe rocking movement, but now we add the knee bend to this. So another way to work on the ankle and the toe mobility. Ankle mobility, I think, might be an obvious reason why you need that, more of that in the catch position. But you also, in the catch position, need to bend through the toe joints. If you don't, then people tend to compensate by knees splaying out to the sides or rounding through the back. Both of those can cause issues. Knees out to the side, IT band problems. Rounding the back, more back problems, of course. Settle in your down dog. Looking forward, we're going to step the left foot between the hands, and it may not get there. You could lower that right knee. Left hand helping that foot come forward. Ankle underneath the knee here. And I'm going to lower the back knee, if you haven't already. Both hands on that front thigh to lift up into this upright position. So we're going to open through the hip flexors a little bit and add a side bend. First, hip flexors. We got to lengthen the tailbone down towards the floor. So instead of that big banana arch here, we're leveling the pelvis. Bend the front knee enough to feel a stretch in the front of the right hip and thigh. If you keep that tailbone down, it doesn't take much bend. We're going to bring the left hand to the hip, right arm up. Inhale, lengthen up through that right arm and arc it over to the left. And then exhale, upright, sweep the arm down. So we inhale, lengthen up and over. Exhale, release the arm. Two more. Keep that tailbone lengthening down towards the floor. Pause on the next one. We're just going to hold the stretch for a few breaths. Hand there on your hip. Might feel good. Maybe you put a block under that left hand, or there's a wall here that you could lean into. So the block under the left hand would look like this. One more breath. We'll rise up. We're going to bring both hands around the front foot here, stepping this back into a plank position. Lower the knees. So even that little movement, you need that bend in the toes to get there. Untuck the toes so tops of the feet are on the floor. Link through the spine from the knees to the crown of the head. Exhale, lower, keeping that plank in tension through the core. Once you're on the floor, pull the shoulders towards the spine and the back waist to lift the head and chest. The neck is long. You could stay with this, or you could press yourself up to a bigger back bend, but don't force it. Tuck the toes. You could make your way directly to down dog, low belly in, or you could go through hands and knees, pull that low belly in, hips up and back. Find that down dog again. Maybe you still have a little bend in the knees so the back is long. Any other pedaling of the feet, or another one I like here is rising up on the toes, releasing the heels down. That gives you that toe mobility. It's also a contract and then relax of the calf muscles, and sometimes that opposition there allows it to relax a little bit more. Looking forward, it'll be right foot between the hands, helping the foot get there. Lower the back knee, lift the torso, coming into that upright position. Find your balance here. I forgot on the other side, I'm going to put my block off to the right in case I want to use that in the side bend stretch. Tailbone towards the earth. This is going to start to give you hip flexor stretch here on that left side. Might be enough, or bend that front knee a little bit more, but keep the tailbone lengthening downward. Right hand to the hip, left arm up. Inhale, you get length and arc it over towards the right. Exhale, upright, release the arm. Do three more. Keep the tailbone lengthening down so you don't get a big arch in the low back here. Because then you release the stretch in the hip flexors and you just compress, crunch through the lumbar vertebrae. I'm going to keep it over in that side bend. You could keep the right hand on the hip or lean onto a block or into the wall, or maybe the couch or the chair is right next to you. Breathe with that side body stretch. We'll come on up and bring both hands down around that front foot. We're stepping the back foot to the front foot, finding your forward fold. It could be the ragdoll version, knees a little bent, upper body draped over lower body here. Or if you're really tight in the hamstrings, if you have a herniated disc or history of one, or if you know your bone density is on the lower side, this version here, you're going to do feet wide, butt back, forearms on the thighs. So there's no compression going through the spine. Either of the poses, you could sway a little, forward, back, side to side. If you're in that ragdoll version, you have a few more options, holding elbows, shaking that head out, or maybe even interlacing fingers at the base of the skull for a little extra pull through the neck, the upper back, a little more traction here. We'll bend the knees, look forward, strong legs, inhale, rise up to stand. You could reach up. Exhale, hands to prayer at your heart. We'll let this go here. So normally I move the blanket out of the way, but I'm going to keep it here for some of the toe mobility things that we're going to do. You could keep it on the low side or a little bit higher. And I am going to place one foot The toes are going to be on the edge of the blanket, but the ball of my foot is on the ground, if you can see that here. And in a moment, I'm going to step over the blanket with my left foot to lift my right heel up off the ground. But pause here and just see how this feels. You might just take a step up onto the blanket with the left foot and back, or maybe just slightly forward of it here and then come back. If the balance is a little bit tricky here, focus the gaze on the spot straight ahead. So we're going to step forward with the other foot, step back. You could decide if that's enough mobility on that toe, or step forward with the other foot and then lift the other heel. So it's as if you're walking, but you have a little extra bend in the toe. So we're just going to step forward and back heel lifting if that's comfortable. So the foot that's stationary, that the toes are on the blanket, that knee is going to stay straight for this exercise so that you are getting the bend in the toes and you're not giving through the knees here. Good. All right, come back, shake it out. And we're going to do the other side. So you're going to have the toes on that edge of the blanket, but the heel and the ball of the foot are making contact with your yoga mat or the floor. And decide here, and it might be different, so I decide maybe it's just step up onto the blanket with the other foot. Maybe you step forward, but you keep that back heel down, or you step forward, lift the back heel, and then step back. And a few of these I'm having to reposition the foot because my foot is sliding off that blanket here, but trying to get that. This is ankle and toe mobility. So one way to know if you have enough toe mobility in the boat is if you come into the catch position, are your shins close to perpendicular perpendicular straight up? If they aren't, then you're probably having to compensate by bringing the knees out a little bit or rounding through the back to get close enough in the catch to generate enough force. All right, we'll pause here. Now you can move that blanket out of the way. See how you're feeling in the toes. If you're starting to feel a little bit more discomfort and pain, maybe you go easier on the next few. We're starting up here at the front of the mat. I'm going to take a big step back with my left foot. So I'm coming into a crescent lunge. So this one, I usually give the option of back heel up or shorten the stance and the back heel down, especially if the big toes don't like that. But what I'd like you to find is where can you be here, back foot closer or further out, where you can get that heel up off the ground at least a little bit. The front knee is bent. We're linking that tailbone down towards the earth and top of the head here towards the sky. Hands here on the hips. If you're struggling with the balance, focus the gaze or maybe have the hand on the wall or a steady piece of furniture. You could pause here. This might be enough for the foot and the toes. If it's comfortable, we're going to lift the back heel and then lower it. Lift the back heel and then lower it. So here's some calf strength and toe mobility. One or two more. All right, step it forward here, shake out that leg, or both legs. And then we do the other side, step back with the other foot. So if you can find somewhere in here, you might have great toe mobility. You can step further back, getting that heel more off the floor. You might not have not so great, and you're just going to get that heel a little bit off the floor. Front knee bent, tailbone down, top of the head up. You could stay here. You don't have to do the heel lift. If it's comfortable, inhale, lift the back heel. Exhale, lower it. A few more. Breathe. Relax the shoulders. You got this. You can feel what's happening. And if you're doing too much, you should take it easy or it's all good. All right, we're going to step it forward, shake out the legs here, roll the shoulders. So we're going to do a few more toe exercises. This is less about the mobility and more about finding some strength in the feet and the shins and the ankles. This is one that I often do in my other yoga classes. So some of you have done these before. We are going to stand with our feet about shoulder distance or wider if it's more comfortable. These are ones you can also do from sitting as well. So this could be things that you work on at your desk if you have your shoes off. We are going to lift all 10 toes up and spread them out. See if you can place just the big toes down and then come back up with those big toes. Big toes stay up and we lower the outer 4 toes down and then come back up. And I'd like you to alternate between those. So big toes down and up and outer 4 toes down and up. And make sure you're breathing. And this could be challenging, especially if you haven't done these types of exercises with the toes before. So don't get too frustrated if your toes aren't doing what your brain is telling them to do. And then try to do it without looking at your feet. So you build this proprioceptive sense of what your body is doing without the visual confirmation of it. And then notice if you're trying to do the same thing with your fingers. And if you can, try not to do it with your fingers, although there's a little bit of neurological overflow from the hands to the feet, which can be helpful. All right, let it go. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. So you may have felt how lifted your arches were up off the floor. Without that big toe mobility, if you're tight there, often what you can feel from the catch position is pain under the ball of the foot or even numbness there if you do it for a long enough period of time, if you're doing enough mileage, or you can get plantar fasciitis from it. That, what we just did, helps to strengthen the muscles that keep you from getting plantar fasciitis. We're going to do a stretch for the top of the foot and the shin because we just worked those muscles here. So you might have a hand on the wall just because this can feel like a balance exercise, even though it's not meant to be. We're going to bring one foot back so you have the top of the toes on the floor, like the toenail part of my toes on the floor. If you had a nice pedicure, you would sort of get messed up here on like a scratchy surface. And then make sure you relax the calf and the foot so you don't get a calf or a toe cramp here. And for me, just being in this position, I feel the stretch in my shin, the front of the ankle, the top of my foot. These front shin muscles work pretty hard if you don't have enough toe mobility or ankle mobility when coming into the catch because they try to compensate. And those shin muscles are trying to pull you forward there. So they can get really tight when you don't have enough ankle or toe mobility or just by virtue of the foot being strapped in to the shoe or the strap that's on the erg. All right, we're going to let this go and do this on the other side. So this stretch for me can feel really good. It's also muscles that you work a lot with walking, running, cycling. Breathe. All right, I'm going to come out of that. We're going to work on balance here, but again, incorporating that ankle and toe mobility with this. So you might want to stay close to the wall to have a hand on the wall or off the yoga mat for a more solid surface. This is a balancing chair pose. So I'm going to come into chair pose first, and then we'll work into the balancing part. So standing with your feet about hip distance apart, getting tall here. Keep that length in the spine, but you're going to sit back. So knees bent, hips bent, and keep that spine long here. So focus the gaze on a non-moving spot. Hands could stay here on the hips. So this is chair pose. Balancing chair, we're going to try to lift the heels and balance on the balls of the feet. Take a breath. And then lower the heels down. Rise up, take a little break. If you noticed that your feet rolled towards the outer edges when you lifted your heels, Maybe try not lifting your heels quite as far or quite as high up off the ground. That's probably because you don't have enough mobility in the big toe. So we're going to sit back in that chair pose, focus the gaze, lengthen the spine, and then lift the heels. Take a breath. Lower the heels, straighten the legs. Release this. So I'm going to turn this into a little bit of a flow. You can just do that. Take it a step at a time like we just did and hold and balance. Or focus on the spot straight ahead. Rise up on your toes. You could even lift the arms. See if you can keep the heels up and sit back into the balancing chair. Arms might come forward to counterbalance. Keep the heels up if you can. Straighten the knees, reach up, and then lower the heels and the arms. Shake it out. We're going to do that again. So up on the toes, reach up, heels stay up, sit back into that balancing chair. You could go lower if it feels comfortable. Keep the heels up, rise all the way up. Lower the heels and the hands. One more time. So rise up on the toes, reach up. Sit back into that balancing chair. The heels stay up if you can. Rise up, heels stay up. Whoop, I lost it. Lower the heels. Let it go. Shake it out. All right, coming up to the front of the mat. Inhale, get tall. Maybe reach up, look up. Exhale, find your forward fold. So remember, it could be the forearms on the thighs, spine long, or that ragdoll version. Fold it over. Take a few breaths here. Maybe shake the head or sway or shift the weight a little. All right, we're going to bring the hands down, walk the feet back, find your downward facing dog. Hips up and back, maybe still a bend in those knees if you're tight. Head relaxed between the upper arms, shake it out. Lower both knees, untuck your toes. Let's find child's or puppy pose here. So take a little break for your feet and everything else. Lengthen your breath, slow it down. Come back to your intention for the practice, recalling the reason you've shown up today. You could stay here longer, resting more, coming back into the breath, or coming up here again to hands and knees. We're working a little bit different ankle and foot position here. This is a seated pose, and you can maybe watch here first and see if this is going to work for you. I'm going to use my 2 yoga blocks. I'm putting them here between my ankles so I can come into this seated position. And there may be reasons why this is challenging for you. It might be hard for your knees to bend this much. For a lot of people, it's a cramp in the foot and the toes that happens here. So I'm going to show you a little trick that might be helpful for that. I'm going to take my blanket and roll it up, and I'm going to put that rolled blanket under the front of my ankles here. Right, so now I'm not having to flatten that foot out quite as much, and you might get less toe, foot, calf cramping. You can see how that works for you. If this is not working at all, you could come into whatever seated position works for you. It could be cross-legged position. You could be sitting on the front edge of a chair. We're working the core a little bit from here, but also we're getting that sort of stretch in the shins, the tops of the feet. This also relaxes the soles of the feet, the plantar fascia muscles there, and the calf muscles. This is a resting position for them. We've just been working them. So sitting tall, think tailbone down, top of the head reaching up. We're going to keep the length in the spine, but start to lean back. I'm going to cross my arms over the chest, and I'm leaning back from my hips. So I'm not arching my back and not going very far, and then rising back to upright. So inhale, leaning back. You're going to feel your core, your abdominal muscles engage. Exhale, rise up. Just do a few more here. You don't have to go back very far before you start to feel your core having to engage. So this is what is working here when you're coming into the finish and then out of the finish. So this is, we're kind of transitioning the torso behind the pelvis and then forward of it here using your abdominal muscles. These are your six-pack muscles, your rectus abdominis. A little more challenge, hands behind the head. Keep breathing. Keep that gaze relatively forward so you're not tipping the head back and straining through the neck. If you feel any strain in the low back, you've gone too far back. One more. Come on up here. Shake out those wrists, roll the shoulders. And then from here, we are making our way onto our sides to do a quad stretch. So maybe you got a little quad stretch in that pose. We'll be stretching the top leg. So I'm just supporting my head here with the arm. It could be a block or a pillow underneath. I'm going to bring the top foot back, find the ankle here with my hand, or you might need the strap for this position. Notice, do you have to rise up to be able to get that foot? See if you can lower that head back down. And then maybe you need the strap for this, but you're going to try to lengthen that kneecap towards the foot of the mat. So especially if that knee is up or forward, you're going to try to lengthen it out. And you might feel stretch coming up into the hip flexors as well as the quads here. Take a few more breaths. We're going to let that go. Turn on the other side. Support the head. Quad stretch of the top leg. Lengthen that kneecap towards the foot of the mat. Breathe. You let that go. Coming onto your back. We're moving into bridge pose. In a moment, we're going to do supported bridge, but if you're ready for something more restorative, you could go there and we'll meet you in a moment. Active bridge, we line the heels up with the sitting bones. Arms are down by the sides. And we're going to press through the feet to lift your hips and back up off the ground. Tuck the shoulders in closer to center, maybe interlace fingers, pressing the arms into the floor. And even here, we're going to work the toes and ankles. So you might try rocking back on your heels so the toes come up off the ground. And then do the opposite. Lift the heels so you're in that tiptoe version. And then go back and forth. Heels down, toes up. Heels up, toes down. And maybe you feel a little bit of difference as to where the work is coming from. Back on the heels, the glutes, the buttocks are going to work a little bit more. Up on the toes, the hamstrings work a little bit more. So shifting the work of the lift here. Both feet flat, arms out. Come on down into your back. Might feel good just to gently rock the knees side to side. So coming into supported bridge, I'm going to use the yoga block. The foam roller works really well for this too. If you don't have the yoga block, a folded blanket, rolled up blanket underneath, where we're lifting the hips and sliding this prop underneath the sacrum. So it's that bony part there that's below the vertebrae, so it's not on the spine, but above the fleshy part of the butt. And I would encourage you to either do um, have it on the flatter, the broader surface area underneath you. It's going to be more comfortable. If you want more height, put 2 blocks under there. We're going to pull the knees in towards us and reach the feet up towards the ceiling. So similar to that first position we get, notice I don't have my knees all the way bent because I don't really care about the hamstring stretch here. I just want my legs elevated. Um, we earlier did circling the wrists and the ankles, which you could do here, but I'm going to offer this other toe exercise, foot exercise called Barbie toes. So imagine the Barbie doll, her feet are perpetually in high heel shoes. So that's the position we're going to bring our feet in here for a moment. So we're pointing the feet, keep the feet pointed, but pull the toes back. So that's like Barbie in high heel shoes. And then do the opposite. We pull the feet back and curl the toes under. So again, we point the feet, pull the toes back, and then pull the feet back, curl the toes under. And then you're just going back and forth between those. And if your brain is not quite caught up with this movement, think about it as what's happening to the ankles is the opposite of the movement happening at the toes. Sometimes when we're doing a new task or a difficult physical task, we tend to hold the breath. So check in and make sure you're not holding your breath. Here we get to watch the toes do this movement. If you're like, Laura, easy peasy, got this. Maybe try closing your eyes to do this movement. You're going to start to feel some of your shin and calf muscles, but also intrinsic muscles of the feet, ones that support the arches, are working here. All right, let it go. Shake it out like we did at the beginning. And then bring your feet down to the floor. We're going to lift the hips and take that prop out from underneath. Pull the knees in towards you here. Gently rock side to side. So I'm going to come into this reclined pigeon or ankle over knee stretch, but I'm going to do it in a way that I'm propping myself. You could use 2 yoga blocks. You could have your feet on the front edge of the chair or feet on the wall here. But I'm going to place the 2 yoga blocks here under my left foot, right ankle over the left knee. If you don't have the yoga blocks or if you need more height, you can put that left foot against the wall or against a piece of furniture. So you're in this ankle over knees stretch. So hopefully you're feeling some stretch or openness on the buttocks, outer hip of that right leg. Now, depending on how much hip flexibility and how long your arms are, you might not be able to do this one. But I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to bring my fingers in between my toes if I can. Might be hard, or you might only get it in between the first 1 or 2 toes. If you can get it in there, and then start to flex and bend your toes with the hand, moving in a pain-free range of motion. So I'm not forcing some motion that I don't already have. And I'm trying to create a little bit more space between my toes, which helps with mobility, helps with the strengthening muscles that support the arch. 2 for 1, hip stretch, toe mobility. All right, let this go, and we're going to switch sides. So I'm putting those blocks under my right foot, left ankle over, pause, seeing if you feel stretch in that left buttocks, outer hip. Remember that right foot could be at the wall or chair. You don't have to do this part, but if you have the space, interlacing or bringing the fingers in between the toes here, sometimes you might need the other hand to help it a little bit. And then maybe a little bend and flex, or flex and extend of the toes here. Breathe. We're gonna let that go. Move those blocks out of the way. Pull the knees in towards you, arms out. Drop the legs over to one side. Come into the spinal twist. Relax the feet, relax the toes. Gaze up or head turned away. Remember, you can always slide a prop under the legs or between the knees to find some ease. And the legs can always slide away from you, so you don't have to stay in that balled up shape. When you're ready, pull the knees in towards you, roll onto your back. Maybe a gentle hug or rock or circling of the hips and knees here, and then eventually dropping them over to the other side. Use any props you'd like or to make this more comfortable. Take a few breaths, head gently turned away from the legs. Pull the knees in towards you. Use your abs to roll onto your back. Decide if there's something you'd like to do before Shavasana. Maybe it's a happy baby, a different hip stretch or twist. And thinking about how you'd like to set yourself up for Shavasana. I'm going to come into legs up the wall since we've been doing so much foot, ankle, toe stuff here. Just in case I have any muscle soreness there or built up lactic acid, some of that positioning will help move some of that out. But you could be on your back, away from the wall, legs up on a chair or the couch. You could be on your belly. You could be in whatever position is restful to you. I'm elevating my hips a little with that folded blanket underneath. Wherever you've decided to land for this, is there any thing you need to do to kind of make it more comfortable? Adjust the clothing, props, shoulder blades tucked under or pulled out from underneath. Maybe it's arm position. Maybe something else feels more comfortable. The idea of this was good, but the execution is not as restful. Perhaps you close your eyes once you find that spot. Take an inhale through the nose. Sigh out the breath. You can do that again. Let it go. Allow your breath to go. Your body knows how to breathe without your conscious override. Resting here for the next few minutes. Start to deepen your breath. Introduce some gentle movements, turning the head, wiggling the fingers, those toes again, circling the wrists and ankles as we did at the beginning of practice. Maybe you stretch your arms overhead and inhale, lengthen like you're waking up in the morning. Exhale, relax from the back, bend the knees and roll to your side. Pause for a moment here, intentionally taking a few more big breaths, increasing that intra-abdominal pressure. Use this opportunity to appreciate your body, your breath, your health, your yoga practice. Being gentle, press up to a seated position. Thank you all for being here, sharing your practice, your energy. The light in me honors the light in each of you. Namaste. Thank you. Please let me know if you have any questions about the toes, comments.
Thank you, Laura. Great class.
That was good.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Feel